Welcome to Huntington, West Virginia, the home of the Marshall Thundering Herd. Today, we embark on a new journey in making Marshall a football powerhouse dynasty in college football 25. In its program history, Marshall has played 47 seasons, 6 conference championships, with the last one coming in 2014 in the Conference USA. They also play in the Sun Belt now, with their home field being Jones C. Edwards Stadium, holding around 38,000 fans. In 2024, it was their third year in the conference, and they finished with a record of 6-7, overall 3-5 in conference play. But this team has a pretty big challenge ahead of them, and that's really finding an offensive identity, because they just had to lose their all-time rushing touchdown leader in Rasheen Ali to the NFL, who finished his career with 39 rushing touchdowns with Marshall. Without him, this team is full of unproven offensive players, but a good crop of returners on defense, and this is where we begin our journey. Marshall is a 2-star school here to start out our dynasty, and we will be creating a coach, making it brand new and starting out fresh. Now, offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators are generated for us to start, but let's just start with the settings here to start this series. And we are going to be playing on Heisman, the highest difficulty, and the XP speed setting will be on the slowest. So we want this to be as difficult as possible. We want to be immersed. And for now, we will play on 8-minute quarters, and we'll adjust that as we kind of get used to what we're seeing as far as a play count. The one change we're making in the Sun Belt is removing divisions. They are the only conference to still have divisions, and we will be changing the championship game location to Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. So here's our coach to start out, Coach J. Now, I am from Wisconsin, so we will be making it realistic, and we will make our pipeline Wisconsin. You know, Wisconsin has a lot of offensive linemen and a lot of defensive linemen as well, but I think we're going to have to create a pipeline with some coordinators outside in the southeast of the United States. And then looking at our playbooks, we will rock with the Marshall Air Raid, and we'll play base 4-3 defense just based on our current personnel. And we will get this journey underway. Now, our backstory here, everybody is going to choose probably recruiter and tactician, but I'm going to start out as a motivator. I want to develop guys within our system and get the most out of all of our recruits and current players. So here is our coach abilities tree to start us out here. And you can see right here with motivator, we have a couple of skills to unlock, and it's mostly based around, training boosts and things like that. But even the first tier is talking about getting drafted in the first 3 rounds. So we're going to have to unlock this tier in order to unlock the other tiers, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And we'll see what our coordinators look like as well. At offensive coordinator, we will rock with Patrick Fulton. He was assigned to us to start out this rebuild. And looking at them, I think what we're going to be doing is hopefully hiring coordinators who kind of align with what we do, but also give us an advantage in another tree, possibly even recruiting. That's probably what I'm going to be looking for in corners that give us more recruiting points. So as you can see, he is a scheme guru. So he allows us to get some boosts as far as offensive linemen and for our quarterbacks and receivers. So that is going to be kind of his specialty. Going over to defensive coordinator, we have Adam Linden, who is a master motivator. So we can really stack our motivator skills together. But I think down the road, I'm going to be looking for somebody that's got a recruiting tree or a recruiting archetype to start it out. So you can see right here, he has some upgrades with the secondary, which is pretty good, quick recovery. So our guys aren't going to get tired very much. And then we also have some linebacker upgrades with him already, some skills and defensive linemen. So our defense is going to be pretty stout to start us out. And that's why our overall was a little bit higher to start it out. And you'll see later in the video what our base overall really is. It's in the 60s. So we're going to need to accomplish a lot of goals to get some XP to upgrade our coach and develop those skill trees. So let's get into the roster, and we're going to start it out with our top players on offense and top players on defense. Let's start with the best overall player. It's Monroe Beard III. He is an outside linebacker. This is his senior season, and he is really, really good at stopping the run. You're not going to run through the second level with him there. We will try to get him in situations where he can rush the passer, but that's not really his specialty. So we're going to be looking for him to really just be a leader on the defense and kind of just be a guy that can basically lead us into the next era of our defense as a senior. Our best offensive player is Logan Osborne. He is impact development trait, but just like Monroe we just saw, he is a senior as well. He is a very good pass protector as a center, so he's going to need to be a leader on this offensive line. He's going to be one of the captains to start out this season, and we'll see how that pans out with the rest of our veteran offensive line. But we have to start at quarterback. And we have two guys that are really, really good candidates to be starters. First is Cole Pennington, the son of Jets and Marshall quarterback Chad Pennington. Pennington is just a sophomore. He is young. He is still developing. But the thing with him is that he's really going to need to learn to be a leader. In his career, he has 0 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's got to cut down on those turnovers. He has that long throwing motion, which I'm going to have to get used to, but he's going to be a guy that's going to be accurate. He's got a pretty good arm as well. The next quarterback we have on our roster is Braylon Braxton. Braxton is a good size at quarterback. He is actually a little bit more mobile, but not too much more mobile. But he does have a better break sack rating than Pennington does. And he also has a big arm, and he's just as accurate. Either one of these two guys can really be contributors on our team. And I think this is going to be really fun to see these two quarterbacks really duke it out. Ja'Kai Long is the next quarterback we have on our roster, but he is far behind. He is just a redshirt freshman. Now, he is the most mobile of this quarterback room. He's got 83 speed, 86 acceleration, so he could get in on some certain packages. Who knows? But we do have 4 quarterbacks on the roster to start us out. At running back, our best overall running back is Ethan Payne. He is more of a power back in this system. Now, does he really fit the air raid system that we want to run? I'm not exactly sure, but we'll see how he does as he kind of develops along and seeing how he fits with this offense. We do have some guys that are a little bit faster, like Roberts here, like AJ Turner, who is a sophomore as well. And then Baron McFadden, who I want to highlight a little bit here because he is actually one of our walk-ons. Before we started this series, we had some submissions from some subscribers and YouTube followers, and we got some walk-ons that were generated by EA to fill the roster. Baron McFadden is one of those guys. He is a guy that comes out of the backfield and catches the ball. That's what he's going to be known for, and that's what he's really going to be in his role here with this offense. But let's talk about the best offensive weapon we have, and that is the transfer from North Carolina and Tyshawn Chapman. He was a high school 4-star recruit, and he is one thing: fast. If there's anything that we are going to do, we are going to get him the ball in space, whether that's in RPO situations, whether that's like that with a shallow crosser or even deep crossers. He's even going to run some go routes from the slot. We're going to find him different ways to get the ball, and it's really going to be fun to play with him. And he's a sophomore, and he's going to have 3 years with this program as long as we keep him happy and he doesn't transfer. Across from him, I maybe should say next to him because Chapman's going to play a lot in the slot, is Braylon Brown. Brown is 6'1". Now, one thing I like about him is he's got some size. He's got some ability to go up and get the ball as well. And he is a veteran leader in this receiving core as well. But a lot of these receivers you're going to see are a lot of transfers. DeMarcus Harris, another 6'1" senior. He's got pretty good speed. He's going to be around 90 speed or so. All the top 5 of these guys are going to be like around 91 speed. Chuck Montgomery, another 91 speed route runner. He's going to play in the slot just like Chapman is. So you're going to see him inside quite a bit, but he's going to really have an ability with that impact development trait, at least to get the most out of him in these final 2 years of his career. We did have another transfer from Middle Tennessee State here, Elijah Metcalf. He is normal dev, but he is actually one of the quickest players on the roster. He's going to be our primary kick returner and punt returner. He's got 96 acceleration, 93 speed, and we'll see what he contributes. But I also want to talk about guys we are going to develop in this series, and that starts with the freshman Trey Allen, who is one of the most sure-handed guys on the roster. He has 85 catching as a freshman. That 85 catching is actually the highest catch rate on the team. So that is going to be something to look out for. He might get some playing time this year. But we have 14 wide receivers on this depth chart. Some guys way down the depth chart. J.J. Carter is another one of those walk-on guys. But these guys are going to have to develop, and they have kind of a long way to go. At tight end, we really have 3 veteran tight ends. The rest of them are going to develop a little bit. But let's just talk about the top 2. Cade Conley is number 87. He is a junior, so he will at least try to be with us for the next 2 years, barring that he does not transfer. He's going to get a lot of red zone targets. That's what he's going to be known for, along with his backup, who is Toby Payne. So both of these guys are going to get in red zone situations more than likely. And his deal breaker is actually playing time. I wonder if he's going to get upset if he's not the number 1 player on the depth chart, which I love in this game. Players have deal breakers to decide if they're going to stick around or transfer. But he's definitely going to get some red zone targets to both of them, where we do run, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends out there. We'll see how that goes. Our offensive line is probably one of the strengths on the team. But the issue is that we do have some seniors on the offensive line, so we're going to need to develop some guys. And one walk-on player I have here is Nemo Thompson. I don't have too much to say about him, but just know that developing offensive line is going to be very, very important in this game. Now, if you have not played this game yet, the defensive lines in this game are incredible, even if you have a good offensive line. So it's going to be important to recruit guys and develop guys and really establish who can play, who can block. So up front here at right tackle, we do have 2 seniors in Jeremy Jones and Elijah Ellis. Those guys are leaving, so we're going to immediately need to replace them, probably with an incoming freshman. So let's just move over to the defense. I talked about it just a second ago. Defensive line play and pass rush is just crazy good on Heisman difficulty in this game. So my really plan is to recruit early offensive linemen and recruit guys that can get after the quarterback. One big issue with this team is that they do not generate many sacks. So we are going to need to generate some pressure one way or another. And I think that that's going to be one of the biggest priorities early on in recruiting. That starts with number 15 coming off of the edge, Michael Green. He is actually a sophomore, and he's coming off of a very good season last year with the Thundering Herd. Now, he's going to have some help behind him as far as veterans go. He's got some juniors and even some seniors that are also going to be there. But Michael Green is going to be here, and we're going to try to keep him happy for the next 3 years so he does not transfer. I do believe in player development, which is why I chose the motivator archetype. He's got 85 power moves to start out right now. That is the highest on the team. Across from him will be sophomore Jacarius Clayton. Now, he is kind of unproven a little bit. He's got 78 finesse moves, only 66 power moves. He's only normal dev also, but he does have some really good size. Poloni Franklin is a guy to watch out for. Polani Franklin, sorry I said butcher that name, but he is a walk-on freshman, so that means he is not on the actual team. He is one of the subscriber recruits, but he is one of the better ones that we see here in this initial roster. Our interior defensive linemen are really, really good. That starts with Isaiah Gibson. He is a senior, along with the next player we will see for a second, and that is two really good seniors that we don't really have too much depth for, and that is going to be an issue because Tycad's legs is going to be a guy that's going to wreak havoc, but only for 1 year. So we're definitely going to need to recruit the interior defensive line, as you can just see the drop off in overall at that position after those two. Our linebacker crew, well, I gotta admit, Monroe Beard is probably our one good linebacker, because opposite of him, we have Chasen Clark, who is only 64 overall as a true freshman. He is the only right outside linebacker on the roster. And then we look at middle linebacker. All of these guys are very, very similar rated, around 71 to 69 overall. So really, this is going to be an open battle to see who can fight for playing time and who really shows up. But we all know that Monroe Beard is going to have to be the leader here. We're going to set him as a team captain right away so that he can show these linebackers the way and hopefully lead this defense here in year number 1 with this final senior season. At cornerback and defensive back in safeties, that whole room, we have a lot of returning starters, and that starts with Amir Foster, who finally gets his opportunity to really shine as the number 1 cornerback in this room. Now, he is 76 overall, but don't be fooled. He has low man and low zone coverage, but in game, he plays great. 94 speed, he's going to be able to keep up with the fastest receivers in the game. I really, really like him, and he's only just a sophomore. Opposite of him, we have Jacoby Henderson, who is also a sophomore. Now, I am kind of bummed that neither of these guys are above a normal dev trait, but that's okay. Jacoby Henderson, though, 75 zone, a little bit lower of man coverage. And then Josh Moten, who is also normal dev. Now, he comes in with a lower man at 68, a lower zone as well at 70. So I'm really going to be looking at least for a guy who can make plays in this secondary, especially in the nickel. I look at a walk-on freshman here, Maxwell Odom, who is decent but needs to develop his skill. But in real life, Marshall does have a couple of really good freshman recruits. That starts with Caleb Clark Glover, who was a 3-star prospect coming out of high school, and he will have some time to develop. He's got 89 speed. He's not going to get much faster than that. But the guy I'm really excited about is Corey Myrick. He was one of their top recruits this season. You can just see his skill caps are all the way pretty much maxed out. Zone coverage, there's 2 bars that are crossed out, but man, he's going to be really, really good if we play our cards right, and especially since he has that impact development trait. At safety, we have a couple of starters who are returning, including JJ Roberts, who is going to be one of the leaders on the back end of the defense. I imagine I'm going to be sending him on a few blitzes this season, especially with his IQ as a veteran safety. And then we have a few freshmen behind him who will be able to develop. And then at strong safety, we will either see Jadarius Green McKnight or Smith at safety. I'm not sure which one yet, but Smith is kind of the guy that's got the nod right now. He is a junior, so both of these guys will get a good evaluation period, and he's a pretty high IQ guy. He's got 89 speed, which is decent for a safety, pretty good. And his zone and man is actually 77, so he will be able to guard tight ends when we need him to. Our season 1 schedule looks like this. We open the season with Sun Belt play right away, going on the road at Texas State. But then in game number 2, we go into hostile environment and we will check out the Virginia Tech Hokies for the first time in college football 25. That's going to be a very, very tough game. So after those 2 road games, we return home for a much probably tougher game because West Virginia is one of our primary rivals, but we do play our first home game versus a rival. But then the toughest game on the schedule, we will go on the road to play Ohio State, led by Will Howard, the new quarterback, and Caleb Downs, the new defensive captain for the Buckeyes. They are looking to make the playoffs and win a national championship this year with one of the better rosters they've ever had. Then we finally play our last non-conference game. It's versus Western Michigan, and that is an opponent in real life as well. And then we finally get a much-needed bye week. So then we start Sun Belt play, where we play South Alabama, Georgia State, UL Monroe, Southern Miss, Louisiana, Old Dominion, and Arkansas State. So we really have our work cut out for us here in season number 1. Here is the Sun Belt preseason All-Americans, and just giving you a look at some of the best players going into this season in the Sun Belt. You can see Appalachian State has quite a few guys. Texas State has quite a few guys. So we are really going to need to be on our P's and Q's early, because if we're expecting Texas State to be an easy game, or maybe even a game that is winnable, we really are going to have to game plan, because the next 3 games after that are going to be really, really tough. There is a world where we win this first game and hopefully grab one of those non-conference games versus either Virginia Tech, probably not Ohio State, but more than likely Western Michigan. That would be great. And if we steal the rivalry game versus West Virginia, that would be awesome as well. But they are rated much higher than we are, Virginia Tech, Ohio State, and West Virginia. So those are going to be really, really tough games. Here are the preseason All-Americans. So these are guys across the nation. You can see some of the best players in the game. You saw Travis Hunter there. You see Caleb Downs there, Will Johnson from Michigan, and a bunch of Michigan defensive players, to be honest with you. Let's talk briefly about recruiting. So recruiting is going to be tailored a little bit to history for Marshall. I say that because in its history, Marshall has only had 4 4-stars since 2000. So that means we're going to create some restrictions early on. Our primary prospect base is going to be targeting 3-star prospects, and that's just how it's going to be until we get big enough for 4-star recruits to want to come to our school. But there is a caveat to that. We will be allowed to recruit anybody in the state of West Virginia, but the highest target is actually Duran Toure, who we will check out here in a second. He is the only 4-star prospect in the state. So this year should be a preview of what you're going to see in the state of West Virginia. There just aren't a lot of top recruits. But Duran Toure is a sure-handed tight end as we look at some of his high school clips. He is going to be a guy that is going to be the quarterback's best friend. Now, he fits with the air raid system because of his sure hands. So if we need him to go across the middle and make those tough catches like you saw right there, he can do that. And also, he's going to be able to run pretty well. So that's going to be a guy that we're going to target. He's going to be number 1 on our board right now, and we'll see if we can land him. And also, he's from Huntington. So that definitely plays in our favor, as he could play for the hometown Marshall Thundering Herd. So next episode, we will get into the spring game. It will give you an opportunity to learn the roster, and also an opportunity for, honestly, myself to get used to the game and also learn the roster. Here are the jerseys here for the Marshall Thundering Herd here in College Football 25, and they said they will, patch a lot of the uniforms into the game if they decide to add some new ones. So that's going to be pretty cool. But here are the base kind of jerseys we see in the game. And next episode, we will hop into the spring game, where we will see our Thundering Herd, the white team, play the green team. We'll see a quarterback battle, running backs, receivers, linebackers, everything. And it will be all at the Joan, aka Joan C. Edwards Stadium. So hit subscribe, hit that like button. Hope you guys enjoyed episode 1. This series is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get into it. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tenant. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash, and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side. But I'm from the east side, this how we slide. This how we ride, yeah, this how we ride.